Forces of Comic News, episode 156. I am one of your hosts, Chris. Alongside, apparently he's a gopher, it's Mike.
Dude, I was doing like the 90s intros, like Full House, where they turn to the camera and they're like, but I was doing, yeah, you're right. It looked more like the surprise gopher. Anyways, welcome to the show, everyone. We have a special guest today, Rich Woodall. If you remember, yep, from almost a year ago, he's back. We're going to talk about where he's at with his book, Electric Black. He's got a new Kickstarter that you're going to be hearing about. And then he's got a little imprint project going on at Scout Comics. So stick around.
Some hot toilet paper talk.
Hot toilet paper. If you want to hear about the latest in toilet paper updates, Chris has got you covered, and we talk about it in the interview. Yeah, so here we are. The show must go on. Chris and I have been quarantining ourselves since, a few years ago, so we're pretty much all set there. I mean, podcasting from across the web, the World Wide Web, makes it easy to quarantine yourself. So
exactly.
Maybe we'll see an upswing in subscribers from this whole virus thing, because there's only so many podcasts you can listen to before you get to the lower tier ones.
Let's get quarantined at home.
Yep.
We're giving you free content.
Free content right here. Only place. Forces of Comic News. Check it out. So I will say this. We're about to talk about some TV shows and stuff like that. But this Friday, last Friday, I guess, when the show releases, The Kingdom Season 2 came out, which is... I really think it's in bad taste because Netflix, there's a reason they didn't advertise that it was coming out, because I didn't even hear about it. And I really liked the first season. A lot of people did. I'm pretty sure it's because it revolves around Asian culture, and it involves a mass-wide pandemic of people being infected. So I'm surprised they released it at all, but it's, I don't know. It was I could tell why they didn't advertise it, because it's pretty much what's happening right now.
Well, Netflix literally has a movie. I think it's called Contagion.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
That is this. It's like the worst case scenario of what's going on in the world, and it's like the biggest movie because everybody's freaking out, and then they watch that and they run out and buy more toilet paper.
Yeah.
So it's
TV. But we won't try to. You guys come here to avoid the stresses of everyday life, I hope. So let's just jump into the news here. TV news: Marvel's Loki Disney Plus series adds another actor. Richard E. Grant joins the cast in an undisclosed role. Who do you think he is?
I really hope he's Kang, because he kind of looks like Kang.
Yeah, Kang the Conqueror.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Got one of those faces.
We're dealing with a time travel story. Why not Kang?
Yeah, I think this setting makes the most sense to put him in. I don't know if you're ready for that in the big screen. The TV show might work better.
Well, we talked last week about the Masters of Evil possibly being in Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Yep.
And how I said they could be the next Avengers villain, and they could be the villain underneath the big villain. So the Loki to your Thanos.
Yep.
And I truly believe that Kang should be the next big bad. The overarching bad for MCU, because they just fucked with time, and what better chance to bring in Kang and introduce him than in this arc. So that would be really cool. Other than that, I have no clue. It's a fairly he's in his 50s or 60s. He was in Rise of the Skywalker.
Mm-hmm.
That's where people probably know him. So we'll see, but that's what I hope it is.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Walking Dead. What do you think about Walking Dead? You been keeping up with that?
Yeah, so I watched the last 2 episodes because last week I didn't get a chance to, and the last episode. Well, first, 2 episodes ago, they tried really hard to make you think that they were going to kill Daryl, but just I know you're not killing Daryl.
You're not killing him. Did they kill him? Did they kill him? Is he dead?
No.
Man, you got me there.
And then last episode was about the Horde finally coming to the hilltop and them preparing for battle, and it was pretty intense. The Horde gets there, and spoiler alert, they end up, all of Hilltop ends up on fire, and that's where they kind of just all right, end of episode. And I'm like, the fuck?
Wow.
So it was a cool episode because it was a lot of let's prepare for battle, and then it was 15 minutes of fighting zombies. and now Negan has his like skin mask, so that's kind of interesting.
Gross.
But yeah, still really love that show. I think it's a great show.
What about Clone Wars? You liking that?
Clone Wars is fantastic. Like I said, it's like an old glove. It just fits.
Yeah. I think I saw. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, if you like the old series, watch it. It's really cool. These first 4 episodes are all like a kind of like a Dirty Dozen, like just a misfit group of soldiers who come and have their own specialty and save the day. They bring back an old character who's been gone for a while now, and then like they kind of resurrect him in a way because we think he's dead. And now we're kind of moving on to a different story. That story's plateaued, and it looks like there's gonna be a new mission next episode. Awesome show though.
Cool.
And we finally get a look at Anakin turning to the dark side in this too.
Oh,
that was a big thing. Anakin finally says like he makes a comment about how like I'm not beholden to the ways of the Jedi, and he ends up killing somebody in cold blood.
Damn.
And that was kind of like a big turn for him. And this takes place in between episode 2 and 3, so that was an interesting turn.
There it is. That's what happened. Yeah, so he's not just killing younglings from the start there.
No, you don't have to hide your younglings just yet.
Yeah, as far as shows, I mean, Better Call Saul, amazing. We not too many spoilers here, but we brought back another old Breaking Bad character. I think they're just gonna keep bringing Breaking Bad characters in on the show until we get to like it just becomes Breaking Bad, and then they're gonna end the show. But it's really good. Castlevania, the new season of that released, and I've been really enjoying that show. I'm not a huge into the video games, but it's like I would call it like a westernized anime, and it's awesome. And then with that, I told you the Kingdom just started back up. I think Flash just started back up last week, or they took a break or something. So I'll be catching up on that.
I need to watch Castlevania.
Yeah, it's really the animation quality is like top notch.
It's also for all the comic people out there. Warren Ellis is one of the writers for it.
Yep, he is. Yeah, and he's doing a fantastic job. Yeah, so movie talk. We got the final Black Widow trailer. Why does that sound weird? It just rolls off the tongue weird. Anyways, still excited for the movie? Yes, no. What do you think?
Got me more excited for the movie.
Yeah, sure.
It kind of gave you more hints of what the story is. It gave you a better look at what Taskmaster is, and it gave you a lot of look at some of the action sequences, and the action sequences look phenomenal.
Yeah.
This got me the most excited of any of the trailers, and I'm pretty down to watch it. So we'll see.
Yeah, it's gonna be good for sure. I mean, Marvel knows what they're doing, I hope. I'm actually really upset about the Fast and the Furious number 9 being delayed almost a year. I am surprised it hasn't showed up on the movie news here, but you know how much I love those Fast and the Furious movies, Chris.
Well, they're kind of slipping on that movie because there's these scenes in the trailers where they're talking to somebody and there's nobody there.
Right.
And I don't know what's going on.
Yeah. You can't. It's an invisible person.
You can't see him.
I know. Yeah. I got the joke. please forgive us for that one, everybody. But anyway,
I can't resist a good John Cena joke, everybody.
Before we lose our fan base, we're gonna jump to the awesome interview with Rich Woodall, and we'll see everybody on the other side.
Welcome back, everybody. I want to once again introduce a guest of ours who's been on the show about a year ago now. Welcome to the show, Rich Woodall.
What's going on? How's it going?
Good. Welcome back. Yeah, no problem, man. Thanks for being on. Hey, we must have did something right. He came back, right? So
yeah, sorry about last week.
Yeah, no, it's all good. The world's in shambles right now. People's schedules are kind of all over the place. So we kind of expected it, but no big deal. Glad to have you here.
The way I look at it, the rest of the world's catching up to us.
Yeah.
They finally started embracing video games. Then comics started becoming big, and now they all want to shelter themselves indoors and not have physical contact. My lifestyle is becoming popular. It's all I'm saying.
Right. Yeah, that's the great thing. We've been living this for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, it almost makes me want to go outside.
Right.
Anyways, man, hey, thanks again for being here. I remember last time we had talked about some projects. Electric Black had not yet come out yet, or it was on the. You had done like 1 or 2 issues. So for our listeners here, let's catch people up on what Electric Black was and where you're going with it.
Yeah, so The Electric Black is a book from Scout Comics. Joe Schmalke and I are the writer/artists. We both write, we both draw the book. It's about a cursed antique shop that is run by a demon proprietor. Pretty much, it travels through space and time. It's like a Stephen King novel if he wrote like Doctor Who.
Mm-hmm.
So it's got some sci-fi, it's got some horror stuff in there. It's got a little of all that. So we wrapped up the first 4 issues. That story arc's done. We're putting together the trade right now. That should be in shops like in a month or so. And then we just launched a Kickstarter on the 1st. Basically, so we have a deal with Scout. They publish everything we do, but we wanted to work with guys, bigger creators, Paul Pelletier, Carl Moline, Walter Osley, Ben Bishop, Christian Dabari, and C.P. Wilson. And to do that, we had to raise funds, to pay them. Because a lot of the stuff that we do, it's all back-end pay. And Joe and I, doing the regular comic, it's cool if we get back-end pay, but these guys, they kind of expect to be paid for their work. So, so we did a Kickstarter, or we're doing a Kickstarter right now. It's fully funded, which is great, which means it's actually going to see print. Awesome. We raised $14,500 as of right now. Wow. We're pushing for stretch goals where you get stickers and temporary tattoos and prints.
Oh, nice.
And if we get a certain amount, we're going to add more content to the books and stuff like that. But pages from Paul and Carl and Walter have been awesome. Christian hasn't sent pages yet, but I know they're going to be awesome. And then C.P. Wilson and Ben Bishop both did covers for it, and they just knocked it out of the park.
Rich, when you did your first Kickstarter, what was the amount you were trying to raise?
Oh, the first one. So the first Kickstarter I did was Space Force, and I want to say it was like $5,000 or $6,000, and I barely made that. Mm-hmm. And then Johnny Reagan, Savage Dragon, and Sergeant Werewolf was last year, and I think I wanted to make 8,000, and I barely made that. So we've been really super fortunate with this one. We have a couple like crazy backers who have just we've got one guy is amazing. He's definitely saved us. He's put in over $2,500 into this project. Wow. So it's really cool. We're gonna hook him up with all kinds of special cool stuff, like extra. That's awesome. If I can get one of my kids and ship him all, and he wants them, I'll ship him my kid.
There you go. First
I'm just thinking 14,000. That's a lot for you to get it this early on. Like that's great. That's awesome, man.
Yeah, it took us 13 days to hit goal, which my mind was blown because, like I said, like before, I could barely hit those other things. I really think it goes to Joe and I both having strong audiences, and kind of the success of the Electric Black has really helped bring people to this. So we're pretty excited, and working with guys like Paul and Carl and all the other creators, like these are big names that that fans are into, and so we've been very, very fortunate that it's gone so well.
That's awesome. So this Kickstarter is you're combining issues 1 and 2? It's just to mostly catch people up, and then continuing you can get the graphic novel as well.
Oh, so what it is it's a 2-issue thing. So the first issue is going to have art by Paul and Walter Osley, and we're basically telling some origin stories of some of the characters that appear in the regular series.
Okay.
so Paul and Walter in the first issue, and they're going to be doing our characters Roy and the Yellow Stranger, and then in the second issue is Carl and Christian Jabari, and they're doing Julius Black and another character named Erebus, and yeah, so this is kind of it's expanding on our universe, which is something that Joe and I wanted to do, but we don't have time to do a lot of times. So we thought if we're going to expand it and hire somebody else to do it, we might as well get some really good talent coming in.
What's that feel like? Because I don't know if we've ever talked to anybody about like giving up a project or like a character of yours or something. How does that feel?
For me, it's awesome. I've only done it a couple times,
right?
But a lot of times you're working with another creator on creator-owned stuff, and it's like you both kind of have your hands in it.
Yeah.
And with this, Joe and I wrote all the stories, but we're handing it off to these guys, and we specifically picked these guys because, one, we had relationships with them, and two, we knew they were professionals and they're not going to drop the ball,
Yeah, right.
But getting pages in, it's Paul was awesome. He did like 8 pages, super crazy fast. Sent them to us so we could have some material ready for the Kickstarter to start promoting stuff. So he was like the first one in, and he was doing everything in just pencil. He's not inking it. So I'm coloring on top of his pencils, which for me was a little stressful. Because I'm like, oh man, I don't want to screw this up. He did a beautiful job. But like, working with him was great. I'm specific. Working with all these guys is great, but I'm pulling him out because he was the first one that started getting stuff back to us. But he, here's a guy that's worked for Marvel and DC, and he's still like super cool about everything and making sure that we were happy with what he was doing. He's given us pages. He's like, oh, did I get the right mood? Did I get the right, am I hitting everything right? And we're like, oh yeah, dude, you're killing it. So to like see him and how humble he was and like crazy professional, it was great.
That's cool for you that you get to continue the story though,
Yeah.
Expand the universe a little bit. So speaking of expanding universes, can you talk about a little other stuff you've been working on, or?
Yeah. So with the success of Electric Black at Scout, Joe and I pitched them an idea of kind of having an imprint at Scout, a horror / sci-fi imprint, and and Scout said yes, which is
awesome.
Great.
Yeah, that is so cool.
Yeah, so Joe and I are launching a horror sci-fi imprint called Black Caravan, and we're going to focus on, like I said, horror and sci-fi books, but we're also going to do things like art books. A little later, we've got a plan for an art book. I've got a buddy who every Inktober he'll do like a movie poster a day. And
cool.
It's crazy. His name's Matt Talbot. You can look him up at like mattrobot.com, I think. He does amazing work. We're going to do an art book with him, where we're going to actually come up with a fake movie company and do like, these are the lost posters of, Coffin Studios or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And then it's going to have posters like Sergeant Werewolf, like if that was a movie, like what would the movie poster look like and stuff like that. So we're going to do a whole art book on that. We've got a couple other contracts that are out that I can't talk about yet, but one Italian creator, Italian and Spanish creator, and the book is kind of like a horror version of X-Men. So that's really cool. We've got a couple other things going on, and of course, Electric Black's going to continue within the imprint. Joe and I have a couple other like one-shot kind of things that we want to do. But we're going to launch at New York Comic Con. That's the the big release of things. We're gonna probably have like an Ashcan preview issue that's gonna collect maybe a sampler of whatever we have ready at that time.
Cool.
Yeah. So and we have I don't know if you guys are familiar with Tom Snagowski. He's done work with Jeff Smith on Bone.
Oh, okay.
He does tons of stuff with Mike Mignola on Hellboy and Lobster Johnson.
Yep.
He's got a pitch into us that looks really cool. We're trying to nail down an artist for that. So it's great. Like, we're getting some really big talent kind of coming to us to pitch stuff. So that's a lot of fun too.
Okay. Yeah.
Tom Skanowski is also the author of Frenchie, the Atomic Bulldog.
Yeah.
We've had the artist on this show.
Yeah.
Before.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
right.
you had Tom on, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I knew I recognized that name when you said it.
Yeah, I'm like, that sounds really familiar.
He's
so-
such a good dude.
Oh yeah. The idea of like doing an imprint though, how's that for you guys? Do you just accept bids for stories? Do you have your own stories that you kind of pitch to people that take them over? Like, what is your role kind of here? Is it almost like editorial, or how does that work?
Yeah, so everything that we're doing, at least at this point, is all kind of creator-owned stuff. We're taking submissions right now. You can go to theblackcaravan.com, and there is a submission form up. So we're open for submissions, at least for a little while. We've got probably a half dozen submissions in right now that we are looking through. And like I said, we're probably only going to take about 6 things right now. So I don't know if we'll actually shut down submissions or if we'll keep going, but basically people are sending us ideas, concepts, usually writer, artist, fully penciled, inked, colored, lettered, and looking for us to publish it. And so basically it's the same deal that we have through Scout. It's just an extension of that. But yeah, we're looking for things like something's killing the children and we want to find good quality horror books. We don't want just like the next slasher book that doesn't have much heart to it. We want a good story in there. So yeah, but it's a totally different world for Joe and I. We're both creators, but being on the other side of the table is kind of it's neat. We're learning every day, kind of different things.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think more sci-fi, more horror, and all the publishers. I think. Please.
Yeah. There seems to be a lot of that like popping up, like the whole Joe Hill.
Yeah, right.
DC, it's like that's great to have more stuff like that.
It's interesting though the way the publishers treat that genre. It's like not in the mainstream set of books, but we'll have, because they almost recognize the like fan base is kind of separate in itself.
Yeah.
There's not really a whole lot of like people buying, I don't know, Batman books and then people buying all the sci-fi stuff Image is doing.
Right.
It's interesting. I don't know. Yeah.
And we're definitely seeing a little bit of that too. It's like you have your traditional Marvel DC guys that they want those superhero books, and then DC's always done a decent job. Not so much Marvel, I don't think as much, but DC's always had like that Vertigo line that's kind of walking that horror kind of tightrope. So they seem to at least try. It's like Marvel pops up every once in a while with something, and then it seems to fade away pretty quick.
Yeah.
Marvel's got Icon.
Yeah.
Right.
Maybe. Once in a while.
Right. Yeah.
Who knows? But this is awesome. I mean, you're fully pledged here. I mean, fully backed. You have 16 days to go. Yeah, please, everybody, check out the Electric Black Presents on Kickstarter.
Thank you,
Rich. Before you go,
yeah,
we have to talk about Savage Dragon.
Yeah. All right, I'm always up for talking about Savage Dragon.
So, what's your part in Savage Dragon that's coming up?
Oh, the issue 250.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know how much Eric wants me to talk about it, but so I'm a huge fan, as you guys know. I did that Johnny Ray Gun Savage Dragon team up.
Yep.
I reached out as soon as I was done with issue 4 of Electric Black. I knew I had like a month to fill in some time, and I reached out to Eric and said, "Hey, if you have a backup story or something, I would love to contribute to issue 250. You know, I'm a big I'm a big fan and everything."
Yeah. Yeah.
And he was really cool. He said, "What do you want to work on? What characters interest you?" And I'm like, "Oh my god!" So I like gave him a list of characters, but I told him I really love like the gods, the Thor and Hercules, and he's like, "All right, something for you." So he wrote like a 7-page script, 7-page script, and got it over to me, and I kicked it out, and he sent me colored pages and everything. It looks really cool. Yeah, I was so excited because it is Thor and Hercules. I can tell you that.
Oh, nice.
I was blown away, and it's all action, fun kind of stuff. So I had a really, really good time, and it was like Eric wrote it, so that's even better, you know. Like I've never worked with Eric on that level before, so that was kind of cool.
That's so cool. It's like, yeah, I mean, you emailed him, right? And you're like, oh, maybe I can get something here. He's like, well, what do you want to do?
Right.
That's so cool. I mean,
that's the coolest part about Eric. Like he's a fan, and he'll also give you enough rope to hang yourself, because like, you know, if you're like, oh yeah, I want to do a 20-page story, he'll probably write a 20-page story for you.
Right.
But you better come through, you know?
Yeah, right. You better get it done.
It's definitely one of those things. I've seen him post on Facebook like, oh, you know, you give 10 guys a script and 2 guys come back and actually have work, you know?
Right.
Right. That kind of sucks, but he's so nice, you know, giving everybody a chance. It's pretty cool. So I'm honored that I'm going to be in 250. I'm pretty excited about that.
That's awesome. When does that come out?
He just sent like 248 to the printer, so I think it's going to be a little while.
Yeah.
Like, so if 248 just went to the printer, that means it's probably not coming out until late April, mid-April.
Okay.
So probably like June or July before 250 hits the stands.
So, I mean, I'll be on the lookout for it, though.
Yeah. It'll be cool.
That. Yeah.
It'll have a lot of cool stuff. I know Frank Cho's doing a cover, and like I think Walt Simonson did like a pinup or something on the inside. I don't know. It's gonna be one of those all-star. If you've ever seen one of the Savage Dragon anniversary issues, it's like 100 pages and it has everybody in it, and it's a lot of fun.
That's cool, man. Yeah, that's awesome. You get to be part of it.
Yeah, I'm super excited about that.
Yeah, awesome. So if our listeners want to follow you and all this, keep up with what you're doing, where can we send them?
You can send them to. I'm not on Twitter much, and I think my Twitter thing is at John Raygun. I think. So yeah, maybe skip Twitter. You can always search me out on Facebook. I'm always on Facebook. Rich Woodall. Yeah, those are the two. I'm probably on Instagram, and I haven't used it in a year. So yeah. I suck at the social media stuff.
And is your imprint going to be part of like the Scout Comics page at all too? Coming up?
Yeah, it should be. Yeah, yeah. Eventually, we're going to set up our own. Like I said, the blackcaravan.com is active. At some point, we'll have a store up there, and once we launch some titles, we'll have some information on those titles and stuff. But yeah, for now, things will all happen at Scout.com.
Cool. Awesome.
Yep.
Well, hopefully the plague goes away soon, so we can all go back to going to cons, and everybody's healthy and happy.
I know. I think I was supposed to be at one next weekend in Boston, and they just canceled that like a week ago. And you know, I think all con promoters are a little on edge right now, trying to hold out as long as they can.
Yeah.
So yeah, hopefully this thing clears up, because although I will say, like, all the Walking Dead and shit that we've watched has kind of prepared us for some of this. Maybe, I don't know.
I don't know. A lot less toilet paper than I expected. But
Right. So, do you guys have an answer for that? Like,
no,
toilet paper.
I think so. Okay, you can go, Chris, if you want.
My theory is there was a group of people that were worried they're going to be quarantined. So you don't want to run out of toilet paper.
Sure.
And then outside of that was just like, oh man, everybody's buying toilet paper. I should buy. And then outside of that, where I stand was, fuck, I'm out of toilet paper.
Right.
I look like an asshole going to the store buying toilet paper.
Right.
Well,
right.
I mean, the point I'm at is like I'm reasonable about all this stuff. I don't think I'm not scrambling to buy things. Like for me, I have just one package of toilet paper for just where I'm living. But then it's like when you're at the grocery store buying other stuff, you're like, oh shit, the news says people are buying toilet paper. Even though I'm a reasonable person, I might as well pick up an extra pack. And then so now on top of the people buying too many, then you have people just buying, hey, well, I'm here, I might as well buy an extra one where they normally wouldn't buy any.
Right.
It's just a big shit show.
Yeah, literally.
I can say to everybody out there and to you, Rich, the industry I work in keeps me close to a lot of retail stores. And when you at the retail level, people are out because everybody's flocking. They're not out at the warehouses. Okay. Toilet paper, a lot of this stuff, it's made in the United States. So if you're in the United States, this applies to you. So there's no shortage on it. It's just a manufactured shortage through hype. So you might not be able to get it throughout the week, but I guarantee you next Friday, all your stores are going to get their regular order of everything, including toilet paper.
Well, my stepdad works for Walmart. So he's texting my daughter, your store is going to get a shipment at 2:00. So if you need anything at 2:30, head out. I'm like, I bought one extra roll.
Right.
It'll be fine. Like, I don't need to hoard it. Because then I'm just going to be stuck with all this bamboo toilet paper that I didn't want.
Right, exactly.
Like, was the only thing left.
I also talked to a few guys at work who are like, hunters and nature guys, and I know exactly what kind of leaves to go out and get if something happens. So,
oh my god, yeah. I went to the grocery store yesterday, and I was like, everything's fine. I mean, there's some like fruits and vegetables that are missing, but it's like, I don't know, I don't get it. And then the problem or the scary part for me is like they're buying all this toilet paper, but nobody's buying hand soap. Like hand soap is still everywhere in the store, and it's like we're still missing the point by a mile here. Yeah. Like it's like I don't care what you're doing in that room, just make sure you wash your hands by whatever you're doing. Like just wash your hands. It's
exactly.
People want to avoid that though, I guess. I don't know. But anyways, Rich, thanks for being on.
Oh, thanks for having me, guys. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
So everybody, make sure to go check out the Kickstarter. Check out Rich wherever you can find him. And thanks again, Rich, for being on.
Oh, thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Please check out the Kickstarter. Check out all the cool stuff Rich is doing, the new imprint at Scout Comics. And if you're going to be in New York Comic Con and it's still happening, check him out. Say hi. He's a super cool dude, and he loves talking about comics. For sure. And who else likes to talk about comics? We do. So let's jump into the comic book news.
Comics.
After a long wait, honestly, I don't know if I could wait for it if I forgot about it a couple of years ago. Jeff Johns and Jason Fabok announced the Batman 3 Jokers. It'll be on comic shelves June 17th. So we got to wait a little longer. What do you think, Chris? Are we just past the point of like just do away with this story? It's out of continuity. It's like give it a DC Black Label title. I don't even know where they're going to go with this story. I mean, this has been going on since New 52. Like
that's my problem. Is now it's out of continuity.
Right.
So like I've been looking forward to this story for a long time. I really wanted to know what was going on with this, and now it seems like now it's taken out of continuity like that.
Yeah.
I'll still read it because I've been looking forward to this book for 6 years now.
Mm-hmm.
And allegedly it's all done. It's not going to be delayed until it is because it's Jeff Johns. Okay. But yeah, it's unfortunate that it's a Black Label book now and not just a DC continuity book.
Yeah, we'll see. Who knows? They might like do a little excerpt like takes place within blah blah blah. But like,
I would be fine if they said this takes place within New 52 continuity,
right?
and like just put it into that bubble and not an Elseworld story that like just kind of exists.
Right.
I'd be fine with that, but it's unfortunate that it didn't happen right after Justice League Wars or Darkseid Wars, and it's very unfortunate that we kept hearing that this could only be told after Doomsday Clock because it was very important to do it after Doomsday Clock, and it's a Black Label book. So you didn't need Doomsday Clock at all.
Yeah, well, who knows? I think it's their continuity and the big events too happening with the whole generational thing. It's like, where does this even fit in? But and now I'm a little confused about this. Justice League is getting a new creative team. And we just finished up this first story arc with the new creative team. So starting with issue 48, writer C. Spurrier will take over the book. Don't know who that is. Never read anything by them. But yeah, I mean, I don't think this last story arc with Justice League was solid. I thought, it was there wasn't anything like too crazy about it. I mean, it was definitely a Justice League story about them fighting the Annihilator, or whatever his name is. But I thought they would have at least continued after that, but I guess they're hopping off that book, so we'll see what happens with Justice League. I wonder if that's what they're going to go forward with, like have a new creative team every story arc, because I don't know how confusing that's going to get.
Yeah, that'd be weird. I really like this current run that they're going on, and I'm really mad that Venditti being taken off of it.
Right.
And yeah, I have no idea who this C. Spurrier is either, but I've read some of his stuff apparently because he's done like random ass Star Wars stuff. He's done a lot of his stuff is like side books to events. Like he did Punisher War Journal during Civil War.
Okay.
He did Secret Empire, Brave New World. He's done random ass X-Men stuff. Like he hasn't done anything high profile really. It's all like the side book to the big high profile book. So
maybe he had a good pitch for Justice League. I guess we'll find out.
Maybe it's just unfortunate that the current writers are getting a bigger chance.
DC announced that Tom Taylor and artist Trevor Hairsine and Rain Barreto are coming back for DC's 2 Dead Planet. No official release date given, so that's cool.
Love Deceased.
Yep.
Love Deceased.
Tom King posted yet another cryptic teaser image of Rorschach along with an unknown female character wearing a fedora and mask. This adds more smoke to the rumor that Tom King is working on a Watchmen series. Okay. I don't even know where to start with that one. I'm not even going to touch it.
He better have something to say.
Yeah,
that's where I'm going to say. He better have something to say.
You better don't force the story out, please.
Yeah, don't give me a Batman team up with Rorschach just to keep the pump out a Watchmen thing.
Former DC exclusive writer Steve Orlando, remember him? He was doing awesome things with Nightwing for a while there. Is jumping to Marvel. His first title will be in June. Is called Darkhold Alpha #1, drawn by Cyan Tormey. Cyan Tormey. Wow. But yeah, Darkhold Alpha #1. Is it have to do with Alpha Flight? I'm guessing.
No.
No? Oh, what is
the Darkhold is like a magical book. It's kind of the key to all magic inside the Marvel Universe.
Oh.
It's been used in a bunch of situations, but hasn't been fully released in a long time. So it's kind of a big deal. The cover they showed has Dr. Doom holding the Darkhold. So this says to me, and especially since it's Darkhold Alpha, it's some sort of event-esque book, because usually they do an alpha at Marvel. That's cool. I'm down with it. Steve Orlando, I'm not too familiar with his work. I know I've seen his name around, but he's never working on things I really care about. So I think he just did a Martian Manhunter book, if I'm not mistaken.
He did the Midnighter and Nightwing during New 52. He was doing all that stuff. I thought.
Okay, so
right?
yeah, so he's a name I know, but it's always he's working on characters I'm not really fond of. So, down to check it out. I like Darkhold. So,
Yep. Shang-Chi returning to his own series, 5-issue miniseries by Gene Luen Yang and Ruan on the art, Dyke Ruan. Yeah, I think Shang-Chi is an awesome character because, like I'm going to say this all the time. DC lacks a kung fu artist. You could say Batman knows kung fu, blah blah blah, but I want a Shang-Chi book, so I'm going to be picking this up. That's simple.
So in all the articles about this, I don't care about Shang-Chi. I'm glad you're getting a Shang-Chi book. It's not my thing.
Yeah.
In all the articles about this, they make a big deal about the fact that Jean Luen Wang is like a MacArthur Genius Grant recipient.
Oh, really?
I don't understand why that makes me care more about her writing this book or him writing this book, but
he's a genius. Okay. But he's a genius. All right, I get it. Like,
okay, I'll back off.
I guess maybe I shouldn't buy it. I don't know. Can I even comprehend what's going to be happening in the book? Who knows?
Probably. Or, I mean, have you gotten a MacArthur Genius Grant?
No, I have not. So maybe I should stay away.
You shouldn't buy the book. It's going to be too much.
That's kind of concerning to me, though. I don't want a kung fu book needs to have kung fu in it. All right, it doesn't need an existential crisis. Okay, let's get ahead of this right now. Like, we don't need differential equations like multiverse crap happening in a kung fu book. When I said I want a kung fu book, I want a kung fu book. I want like Enter the Dragon. I don't want like Inception. You know what I mean?
Issue 1, he's gonna lose his kung fu. He's gonna be like, I can't remember my kung fu, man. That's how kung fu people talk, right?
Yeah, sure.
And then by issue 4, at the end of issue 4, he's gonna be standing there and he's gonna look at you and be like, I know kung fu. And then issue 5 is when you're gonna get the kung fu.
And then that's when it's gonna end.
The only kung fu stuff I know is Matrix. That's why I have to make the reference.
Yep. Alan Bellman, a Golden Age comic artist known for his work on Captain America, The Human Torch, All Winners Comics, Submariner Comics, and Johnson and Jet Dixon of Space Squadron, passes at the age of 96. Very sad. Hopefully he lived a long. I mean, he did live a long. Yeah, I was gonna say long, fulfilling life. I mean, he got to work on some great characters. Rest in peace, Alan. But man, he's kind of made his mark there on a lot of classic comic books. Yeah. So 96. Wow.
And I was reading it, like his entire career was either at Timely or Marvel, and Timely is Marvel. So, so his entire career was dealing with Marvel characters. So, yeah. And he's an amazing artist. Like, I've read some of his Captain America stuff, obviously in reprints.
Yep.
But and he was, indicative of his time. Like, just a great artist of that era. So sad, but he lived a fantastic long life. So
yeah. Yep. Yes, he did. Rest in peace. With that solemn news, we'll jump into what we read this week. Just to get ahead of the single issues, I read Volume 5 of Black Science. That book is awesome. Multiverse adventures. Basically, when you get the technology to travel in the multiverse, how can it be exploited? Why is it a good idea? Why is it a bad idea? And how it separates a family is pretty much the premise for that book, and it's really good. Dollhouse number 5 came out this week by M.R. Carey and Peter Gross on the art. This book is, it's solid. It's a solid horror story. There's some other stuff happening. Now that the last issue, the daughter was sacrificed. She gave up herself so her mother could grow back her leg after this incident with the bombing that they're part of. Obviously, the mother's being accused of the daughter going missing because she was the only one present when it happened. So basically, the mom's like, I need to go back to the root of all this. She goes back to the manor house where all this started, where the woman gave birth to like the demon, the guy who like found the demon in the cave, who came back and his wife was pregnant. Come to find out, the fetus that they went to like throw in the fire during this whole event was what grew into the dollhouse. So like we get this really creepy image of like the fetus like crawling across the floor and growing into the shape of a dollhouse. We also find out the people within the dollhouse are from within the family line or like related to the family and the people that have gone missing over the centuries. So, and that are like trying to trap more people in the dollhouse. Basically, the mom goes there and gets arrested because she's breaking and entering in the estate. Come to find out, she owns the house is in her name. She actually has a bloodline to the person. It makes sense, right? Like, why would the dollhouse be, messing with her? By the end of it, she goes back to the house. She finds out the whole reveal about the fetus or the placenta or whatever being the dollhouse. And then there's a cat there's a black cat like walking around. He's like, "Can you explain to me what's going on?" And he's like, the cat says something to her, like speaks, and that's how the issue ends. It was really cool. Like it's all like the cat from what's that? Sabrina the Teenage Witch. That's kind of what it reminded me of, because it was like why would this thing turn into a dollhouse? And it was like it would if it wanted to survive. So basically, this evil essence has grown into this dollhouse just to survive throughout the centuries. It was pretty interesting. We're learning a lot in this issue. Like I said, the Hill House comics are solid stuff. Jessica Jones, Blindspot #5. Kelly Thompson, Mattia de Lewis is on the art. Yeah, I talked a little bit about Kelly with us when we got to interview her. Basically, Jessica Jones has been held captive. She breaks out in this issue. They find out that the villain has split himself with his powers into a good version, a bad version. Jared is his name. And so they devise this plan to trap evil Jared and the good Jared. They need him to like merge back with himself, even though he doesn't want to go back to the issue. The issue ends with like Jessica being reunited with her family and Luke Cage, and it was a really good end of the whole story arc there of what happened. Star Wars: Rise of Kylo Ren #4. Charles Soule, Will Sliney on art. Did you read that?
I did.
I think it was a solid issue. I mean, we see Kylo killing Jedi and also killing. He's still Ben Skywalker, right? Or Ben Solo, sorry.
Yes, Ben Solo.
And so Kylo Ren kind of like you almost see like he's starting to hold on to the light side at the beginning of the issue, but then Kylo Ren like murders the hostages, or not? Yeah, the real Kylo Ren murders the hostages. It gets kind of confusing when this guy's named Kylo and then he takes the name Kylo. So his Jedi friends show up. He fights with them, and he kills Ren and he kills his friend. And then that's when he takes up the name Kylo Ren. But there's an awesome panel of like the fight of like him and Ben and Kylo Ren falling and like him killing him and stuff. It was pretty awesome. And the awesome panel happens of like when he kills him, there's a big shift in the Force, and like you see all these characters sensing it. Like you see Leia, you see even Palpatine senses it. Like there's a big ripple of like, oh, he's too far gone now. There's no coming back. And then we get the scene of like him making his lightsaber at the end, which is really cool.
Yeah, it was a great series to show the descent of Ben into turning into Kylo Ren.
Yep.
And I really hope that they move forward with. I mean, this is a 4-issue mini, so this story and this creative team is done. Mm-hmm. But I hope that they do more with it, because I really liked his descent, and now I want to see him at the head of the Knights of Ren, and kind of the adventures that come out of that.
Yep. I agree. That'd be cool to see. Star Wars Bounty Hunters #1. I'm sure you read that.
That was awesome.
Yeah, you want to talk about it? It takes. So we find out it takes place after the battle in Hoth, like pretty shortly after, I believe. Right.
Yeah. So there's like a prequel story of a failed mission, and somebody turned on all the bounty hunters, and then that person like kind of goes away. And she's living no longer as a bounty hunter, but everybody else is Bosk and Boba Fett.
Yep.
And the main character's name I'm zoning on.
Oh, Valance.
Yep. I'll have to keep living as bounty hunters. Mm-hmm. So Valance kind of gets a hint that there's a bounty out there while he's on a different mission, and it's this woman that betrayed them. And we kind of get the different perspective from the three characters of them getting the mission and then deciding that they're going to go out there, and Boba Fett being the most badass, being like, I don't need your credits, I'll do it for free.
Right.
That's the one that really gives us the tell of where it takes place, because he has Han in Kryptonite on the ship on his way to Jabba. But I really loved it. Or Carbonite, what'd I say?
Yeah. Kryptonite. It's all
Kryptonite.
Good.
Oh yeah, I know. Comics.
Yeah, comics.
I really loved it because it was these great bounty hunter characters that haven't gotten a lot of love in this new continuity, and it was just it was a Star Wars book with, I don't think there was a single lightsaber in the book. It showed kind of the criminal element of the Star Wars universe, and has just great characters around it. So I really
Dr. Aphra and Black Chrysanthemum show up, the Black Wookiee, which was awesome. I don't know anything about those characters, but they seem really cool. Like the evil Wookiee, you know, it's really cool. And then the person they're pursuing is Nakano Lash, is the bounty, and I don't know if that's a character that's popped up before, but that's her name.
Yeah, I didn't take time to look it up. It might have been, but yeah. So yeah, going to Aphra real quick, just to sell you and other people. Aphra is literally like the evil version of Luke, because Aphra has her C-3PO droid who wants to kill everybody, and she has her R2-D2 droid who wants to destroy everything, and then she has a Black Wookiee who follows her around.
That's amazing.
But yeah, her showing up and being kind of part of it was cool too, especially since I think not next week, but the following week we're getting her new series as well. So
cool. Decorum #1 came out this week. I read that by Image Comics.
Did you?
Jonathan Hickman book, man. Mike Huddleston on the art, amazing art. First off, this book it's split up into 3 chapters, and there's a lot. I mean, I don't even know where to begin explaining this universe. I mean, there's a lot of it's a sci-fi book, and I think it's kind of atypical to a normal Hickman book. You could correct me if I'm wrong here. He's given a lot of info up front, but it's not typical of like what's going on with the plot. It's kind of building the universe. We find out he gives a history of this sci-fi universe, of these planets that were trying to be preserved, and then they from evolution almost to like preserve the planet, they halted evolution, and kind of like there's a society that kind of isolated each planet separately, and it didn't go well, and there's this big I forget what he calls it, crusades, almost like a crusades of singularity. I mean, he's got all these big fancy words, but it almost seems like there were people that were resistant to the preservation and stopping evolution. It's crazy. And then chapter 2, we kind of get of this character, Niha, is a courier, and she works for like a black market planet. She's she's basically Han Solo, like a smuggler kind of, but at a smaller scale. She's a courier, and we find out that there's these cryogenic pods, that there was a disease that infected the population. Kind of relative today, but for people that couldn't afford the cure, you had an option to freeze like family members or loved ones in a cryogenic to preserve their state, and then eventually you could try to pay off for the cure or like wait for a cure. And that's kind of like the idea that I got out of it. And we see this main character interacting with one of the cryopods. I'm gonna guess later in the series that she's probably tied to one of the people that are frozen there. Maybe it's a sibling or something like that. And that's why she chose this life. I think just to pay that debt almost. Chapter 3, we get the delivery of this package that she got paid way too much for. It's basically an assassin's weapon, which was crazy. I mean, there's a whole fight scene that takes place in this this guy's nightclub, underground nightclub, and the issue basically ends with the assassin killing everyone and then saying to her, like, "What am I going to do with you now?" So I'm guessing, I don't know if she's going to get involved with this political assassination thing going on. I think it was a solid first issue. A lot of characters, a lot of world building. I mean, this is a book you got to go back and look through a few more times, I think. But
yeah, so I did enjoy it. Everything you said, I agree with. A lot of world building, a lot of reading, a lot of, and that's kind of why I think I'm going to drop it and come back to it in trade. it's one of those books right now where the way it's set up reminds me a lot of what Hickman is doing with X-Men right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if I can do 2 of that style.
I get that for sure. Yep.
So although I enjoyed it, and I think he's got a cool world he's building here, I think I'm going to come back to it like a year or so when there's a few trades out, and I can kind of dig deeper into that world. But that's not a slight on the book. It's just where I am with my reading right now, and kind of the time I have to devote to a world like that. I don't know if I got it in me right now.
It's like me why I dropped East of West like 10 issues in, because I knew what was going on with East of West, and I almost didn't have like the mental capacity to keep up with it. You know what I mean? And plus, it was being delayed all the time. Like it was hard for me to see this huge universe and like these characters and what's going on. So I definitely understand where you're coming from. So
yeah, and for me, being a huge Hickman fan, I was much more willing to suffer through that because that was the only Hickman I could get. So
yep.
If that book was happening now, I probably would have dropped it too for that reason. So,
and then I had my last book, Green Lantern Season 2, number 2, Morrison and Liam Sharp. And on the cover, it's Can Green Lantern Stop an Invasion from the Dawn of Time? Crazy friggin' issue. I mean, I don't like, these are one-shot stories, all bringing us. I mean, we're on Earth now. It shows the side of Green Lantern where he's like, he's a drifter, so he meets a lost love that has an issue and needs resolving. And, they do the whole James Bond thing at the end of the issue where he like hooks up with her and he's like, I got to go to another mission, like he has to take off. And so that like, it's interesting to see Grant Morrison treat him like the character like that, like a James Bond drifter, when the one I'm used to is the Hal Jordan that always is like always trying to get back to Earth, I feel like, or like stay grounded on Earth, where this one kind of like understands that there's a higher power that he answers to, and that he has a greater cause he needs to fight for, which is the defense of the galaxy. But anyways, this was an interesting story. I don't even know where it's a Grant Morrison story. There's a bunch of rich people started this like futuristic city. Then they started going missing because they dug up like this ancient bird civilization. And so like these people are enslaved to do the work for the birds to dig up more eggs. So basically like we get to the climax of the book where like the bird people have everybody in prison. These birds are gonna hatch and they're gonna unleash their evil on the world. It's so Grant Morrison, it's not funny. But as they hatch, I think like there's something when like a baby bird hatches out of an egg, like the first thing they are exposed to is like what they take orders from. So like they all hatch out of the eggs, and the enemies are kind of like the leaders of the bird people are kind of like distracted. And as soon as they hatch, he's like, okay, don't listen to like any people that are like trying to be evil. He basically like gives them like a moral compass right away, and the guy's like, oh no, you foiled my plan, because now they're only gonna listen to you and like be good. It was such a strange issue, but I mean, it's Grant Morrison, and only he can think of these wacky things and like end up making sense at the end of the book. But I think more importantly, at the end of this issue, he gets a call from the Guardians that he has to go to where he originally found the Green Lantern ring, or he has to go back to the Air Force because something's going on there. So he has to go back to his roots in this next issue. So I think we're going to get into a little more of the what the origin and what makes him Green Lantern, which is what I want out of a Grant Morrison book now. I think I want to see Green Lantern being Green Lantern and not being James Bond. But anyways, that's what I read this week.
Avengers number 32. So we're done with the space story where we have the Star Brand, and now we're back on Earth, and we get a little bit of the Star Brand baby, and everybody taking care of them. But the majority of this issue was all of the villains that the Avengers have made over the past 31 issues are starting to realize that they need to work together to defeat the Avengers. So we go from past story villain to past story villain, starting with Namor, and then we end up with Dracula and the the country of vampires. Then we end up over in Russia with the Winter Guard, and finish up with Squadron Supreme of America, and all of them kind of having the idea that they need to come together to defeat the Avengers. So my happiest part about this book is the fact that the vampires are back, because that was such a fun story. I just loved the idea of Dracula versus the Avengers. And then in the background, we end up finding that Mephisto is kind of behind it all.
Of course.
Which does kind of bring together what happened last issue with Mephisto and Tony Stark, and how he's been kind of dealing with issues with him. Venom number 24. So last issue, I don't know if everyone remembers, but there was a thing about Captain America. He comes to save Eddie Brock, and then he nukes the island. Well, we end up finding out that that was kind of a fever dream that Eddie was having. And what really happened was Eddie was consumed by the Carnage symbiote. So we have like a dream sequence in this where he thinks he's back home, and he thinks that he ruined everything, and Null's come and just like started destroying everything in the planet. But it's really Carnage messing with his mind. And then meanwhile, Eddie's son Dylan figures out what's going on in the island and learns how to control the symbiotes without having them attached to him. It's part of his power that he's been given over the symbiotes. So he works with the original Venom symbiote to fight Carnage, and that was where the issue ended, was Venom attacking Eddie Brock with the Carnage symbiote. It was a cool issue. I like the twist that was there. The whole like it was all a dream is kind of cliche, but I don't know. It was worth it to see Captain America nuke something last issue. Yeah, Venom's still a really good book. Thor number 4. So this was tagged as the Thor versus Sif issue, but there's really no fighting in this. So Sif shows up. Well, we started off with like them talking about what Black Winter is and how it connects to Norse mythology, and the idea of the winter coming and Ragnarok being the end times. And but them saying really like mythology got it wrong. When the end times come, there's just black. Everything goes black. And then we cut to where Thor was after beating on Beta Ray Bill and Sif showing up, and them deciding that they're not going to fight. They're going to take Beta Ray Bill away, and Thor's going to finish his mission. And there's a little interlude in there where Thor shoots the hammer, and Sif sends it off to where Loki is, and Loki's able to lift the hammer. And they even say in there, like, I like the way Donny Cates is writing this, because it happens, and he's like, but this is a story we'll tell later, and it just like cuts back.
That's cool.
And then it's Thor going to these different planets and trying to help Galactus consume them so they can become as powerful enough to fight the Black Winter. And the last page is them standing in front of the cloud as it's coming at them. And so next issue is apparently going to be them consumed by the Black Winter trying to destroy it. But awesome story. So good. If you like Thor and you like Donny Cates, I think it's a great book. I think he's holding up with his promise that this is going to be less Led Zeppelin and more black metal. Star Wars Darth Vader number 2. Once again, last issue ended with Darth Vader seeing Padme in front of him. And obviously it wasn't Padme. Padme's dead. So we find out that it's one of Padme's like lookalikes from the original trilogy. And they end up having to get together to find out who killed Padme. So the whole issue is them figuring out, like, you're not Padme, but you're almost like her. So they end up getting together and then deciding that they're going to go off and try to find the person that killed Padme. Decent issue. I mean, the twist was kind of dumb, but I'm interested to see where this goes and how they work together moving forward. And I like how things that this woman is saying is triggering Darth Vader back to when he was still Anakin and his moments with Padme. And then I got The Man Who Fucked Up Time number 2.
Nice.
So basically, he's given this choice to like go back and fix everything, and he tries to go back and fix everything, and he fucks it up even worse. This book is just crazy time travel stories, and I really enjoy it. I think it's 2 issues in, so who knows where it goes from here, but I think it's worth checking out, everybody. It's John Layman doing just weird time travel stuff. And this book ends with a new future, and it still keeps with the idea that Abraham Lincoln never dies and then claims himself to be emperor of the world or of the United States. So the person in charge of the United States is, what was it? Emperor Adolf Hitler. Adolf Hitler. Jesus, that's where my brain went. Emperor Abraham Lincoln the Sixth.
Wow.
I was just watching Man in the High Tower the other day. So yeah, it's a really cool book. It's an Aftershock book. So I mean, it's just cool independent comics. Definitely check it out.
Awesome.
That's all I had, Mike. So where can people find you on that internet?
They can find me at Fortress Ricker on Twitter. Where can they find you and or the show?
Well, they can find me at Fortress Chris on Twitter, or you can now find me at chrisrunt.com.
What?
That's CHRISRUNDT.com.
What?
Go there, sign up for my email list, and keep up with everything that's not podcasting in my life. There'll still be podcasting stuff on there, but it's mostly meant to bring my comics stuff together.
Nice.
So yeah, go check that out. And you can find the show at fortresscomicnews.com. Make sure if you're listening to this, give us 5-star reviews on any podcatcher that you're listening on. Or if you're watching us right now, to like, subscribe, and share, because sharing is caring. So, Mike, that's all I have for this week. And to all you all listening, thanks for listening. And we'll see you next week.
Goodbye.